Hey guys, my name is Kaden Hickman, and I am doing this for our Poe podcast or video assignment. And so first we're supposed to talk about how this work appealed to us, why it did, and why we chose the work. And I chose The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. I did have a hard time choosing because I really enjoy getting to learn about Poe's works, and I like his writing style. It really intrigues me. And so I like to just study about his works and stuff, and so I had a hard time picking which one I wanted to do. But I did choose this one. It's been one of my favorites for a long time, and it was also the very first exposure I ever had to Poe. I first read this when I was in middle school, and ever since then I've just really liked how this work plays out and the themes that he brings forth in it. And so I also chose the topic of the theme to do this video on because I really like to dissect poems and short stories and other literary works, and dissect them based upon the themes and see how it all connects. And so that's why I chose this to do this video on. And so a theme is defined as the main idea or underlying meaning in a work. And so what is the theme of the story or poem that you've chosen? Why do you think so? And that's what we're going to talk about for number 2. And so a large theme in this work is Poe's guilt. Well, not Poe, but like the narrator's guilt. And this theme, along with the rest, it plays out through this work in areas of madness and in a guilty conscience is how that theme of guilt plays throughout the whole thing. And so in this story, he tries to tell it to defend his sanity. This narrator is telling this work to basically show you that he's not mad, but he ends up doing that and confessing to the murder. So he kills this man during the night after this man is woken up from a night terror, and the man ended up letting out a shriek during this whole thing, and the neighbor heard him, and so he called the cops. Though the narrator was worried that the cops were called because the neighbor could hear the beating heart. But the police don't end up suspecting anything. They think everything is fine. But this narrator keeps hearing the beating heart under the floorboards. And he is so driven by this madness and the idea that they're mocking him that he ends up confessing to the crime and shrieking for them to rip up the floorboards. And so in the story, the theme of guilt completely overrides his sanity and ends up leading to him confessing. And so we're supposed to also choose some quotes that explain this. And so the very first line in this short story is, "True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous. I have been and am, but why will you say that I am mad?" And so this is the opening line of this short story, and this alone introduces the reader already that something is not right, because this narrator is trying to convince you that he's not mad, but that automatically makes you think, something is not going like it's supposed to go. And so he's already trying to convince the reader. Later on, Poe writes, "But the beating grew louder, louder. I thought the heart must burst. And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound will be heard by a neighbor." So here he's about to end up killing this man, and he's so worried that the neighbor is going to hear this beating heart, which we know is not the case. That's not going to happen. But this guilt of what he's about to do, the guilt of this action he's about to perform, as well as the inherent madness that this narrator is dealing with already, and is spiraling towards, it's making him think this way, which leads to him actually committing this crime. And then also the last 2 stanzas of this work, it's a lot, but I didn't know how to pick apart one part of it. But it really shows this guilt emerging at its finest. So Poe writes, "No doubt I grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice. Yet the sound increased, and what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the men, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I sung the chair upon which I had been sitting, and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men chanted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no, no, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But if anything was better than this agony, anything was more tolerable than this decision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now again, hark, louder, 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 louder. Villains, I shrieked. Dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here, here. It is the beating heart of his hideous heart. Is the beating of this hideous heart, sorry. And so this is how the story ends. And this entire, in these 2 long stanzas, they really show how this guilt has just completely trapped this man. And that really showcases the theme throughout it. And then so finally, we are supposed to connect our theme to the key ideas in romanticism or dark romanticism, and with different things. And so this work connects to many themes throughout dark romanticism. It connects to mystery, first and foremost. So this story is progressing. The reader is constantly trying to figure out, what has happened, why it's happening, what's going on, why is this man mad? And then this also connects to the theme of terror and the idea of terror, both on the individual level as well as through the imagination, because, this narrator is dealing with issues in himself, but it's also, all in his head, because, we know that they can't hear the beating heart of the actual, dead man. And so this story also connects to a loss of innocence, and that then connects back to entering into madness. And so this is my video and podcast on Poe, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.